Hello everybody, it's Tommy and welcome back to another speed build. Today's video is actually not a part of the Disney save. Technically, we might be able to use this for the Disney save later, and obviously from the title, you guys can guess pretty quickly that this is a Peter Pan related build. It's a little bit complicated about how this is a Peter Pan related build, and I'll get more into like my specific decision later on in the video, but it's a little bit more important to talk about the fact that this is actually a collab video. So I was asked to be a part of this collab by a fellow creator named Camilla, who also does Sims 4 speed builds. She is wildly, brilliantly talented. I absolutely think she is so underrated and does some of the best speed builds, like very clean, very pretty. Her channel, as well as everybody else who is a part of today's collab, will be linked down below in the description box. So you can go check everybody's video out, and specifically Camilla as well, because she put this entire thing together. And her idea was basically to pick any type of story, folklore, legend, myth, anything like that, and build something in relation to Christmas, or just with Christmas and the holidays sort of coming up, and it feels like a very magical time of year. It's a cool idea to kind of bring the idea of maybe not like a traditional Christmas build, but doing something that still feels magical, still has that very same like presence to it. And she decided to call it the Sims Tales Collab. So like I said, everything will be linked in the description box down below, as far as everyone else's videos and a Google Doc that I think will have everybody's builds and everybody's socials linked on it if you would like to check all of that out. I definitely recommend it based after what I've been seeing popping in and out of Discord as I do. But I think a lot of people are sticking with actually doing very Christmassy ideas or building winter related, and I knew immediately that I wanted to try to stay away from that. My very first idea for this collab was actually to do some kind of famous Japanese or Chinese folklore or myth related legend. But as you can imagine, I don't really know any off of the top of my head, and I didn't want to get anything wrong. I didn't want to like put in a bunch of research to do one of those types of folklores and then like get a bunch of the information wrong. So I figured maybe stick with something I know a little bit better and save that for people who are just more knowledgeable in it than I. And I really also like the idea of going outside of the box and just doing something that wasn't entirely winter or Christmas themed, but still has that same like magical-esque element to the build. So I decided to go with Peter Pan, which a lot of you I'm sure actually know. Peter Pan was originally a book written by J.M. Barrie and was previously like at one point not owned by Disney. What we know of Peter Pan today, and when I say Peter Pan, most of you are going to think of Disney. But the original book by J.M. Barrie is actually one of my favorites of all time, and I really wanted to take representation from either that book or a different one. So I actually ended up using a different series than the original. There is a book series called Twisted Tales that basically it is canonly written by Disney. Like the books are published by Disney, and they all feature a what if scenario that changes something about the original story and then plays through how it would have ended differently or what would have happened if the situation was slightly different. So there's one that is Peter Pan themed, and it's called Straight On Till Morning. And I read it. I actually have not finished the book. I have to preface by saying that. I've been enjoying it so far, but I started it right before I moved, and I haven't had an opportunity to like fully dive into the book, but I've gotten about 200 pages in, and I have really, really enjoyed the idea of like these what if type of scenarios. So for the Peter Pan book, the idea was that instead of Wendy traveling to Neverland for the first time with her brothers and with Peter, she makes a bad deal to get there because she's basically so sick of her life in London, and Peter's not coming to take her to Neverland. So she makes a bad deal with Captain Hook in order to get there. And I really just enjoy the different feeling that it has. She actually goes by herself. She's slightly older. It has like a older element to it. Like it feels like she is older than she was originally in the first movie. And I've always been interested in the tale of Peter Pan and like the entire storyline behind it. But of course, specifically, I am an adult, so I relate better to characters that don't make like childish decisions and are like child characters. Like obviously I would rather read about somebody who is a little bit older. So that is the book. And in the book, she arrives to Neverland and discovers that she actually has a home there. So the way that it works is that basically Wendy sort of thinks of everything that she would imagine would be in Neverland, and her imagination creates what is actually there. So in her head, she had sort of designed what a house would look like for herself there, and she arrives there to realize that it is actually a reality. And they describe her house, which is obviously going to be a little bit different than today's build. I have upped it a little bit and made it 2-story and just made it maybe slightly more luxurious than what she's actually describing. But it was described as deep in the jungle with lots of flowers, almost being a part of one of the landscape. And I'm actually going to read a couple of sections from the book so that you guys can get a general description of what I was basically going off of for reference. I did also use stuff off of Pinterest. I was looking at bungalows, I was looking at like jungle homes and things of that nature, but I read her description of the home in the book, and then I basically wrote it all down and made sure that I carried all of those ideas over into today's speed build. So just so that we're all on the same page, and because I'm sure many of you have never read this book, I will go ahead and read some of it for you. A strange structure untangled itself out of the background like a hallucination, not part of the natural landscape. It was a funny-shaped, almost spherical, green, pond-like thing, woven from living branches of trees and vines. A trellis of flowers hung down over the opening that served as the door. Wendy was so delighted, tears sprang to her eyes. It was her imaginary house. She tentatively stepped forward, almost swooning at the heavy scent of the door flowers. Languorously lighting on them were a few scissor flies, silver and almost perfectly translucent in the glittery sunlight. Their sharp wings made little snickety noises as they fluttered off. The interior was small and cozy. Plaited, sweet-smelling rush mats softened the floor. The rounded walls made shelves difficult, so macabre robes hung from the ceiling, cradling half logs or flat stones that displayed pretty pebbles, several beautiful eggs, and what looked like a teacup made from a coconut. A lantern assembled from translucent, pearly shells sat atop a real cherry writing desk, intricately carved and entirely out of place with the rest of the interior. Wendy picked up one of the pretty pebbles in wonder, turning it this way and that before putting it in her pocket. "This is me," she breathed. So I was just really inspired by that. I thought it was cute. I enjoyed the book up until this point so far. It is a young adult book, so it obviously has elements to it that I think would be skipped if it wasn't, if it was more of an adult book. But in general, I find that I can enjoy young adult readers, and I've enjoyed the series so far. I actually bought a few of the other books, and they're just sort of waiting for me to read them and have time to read them. And I thought it would be a really cool outside of the box idea to bring the very little description that we get from that home to life in The Sims as this like jungly escape rental home in the middle of Selva Dorada. And for specifically my Disney save, and if you are new to my channel, I actually have a Disney save file called the Disney Save, and that is primarily what I do here on YouTube currently. And I basically have put nothing out but that, except for a few collabs here and there up until this point. I think when I am discussing that, a lot of the times I will say, you know, for Peter Pan, we're going to probably stick to Sulani, but it's important to remember that most of Neverland, except for the coast and like the Mermaid Lagoon area, is very heavily, densely a jungle. So it made a lot of sense to me to put this right in the middle of Selva Dorada, and I thought it would be cute to upload as like a rental, which is not a new idea to The Sims, but rental lots being able to be placed wherever you want to in The Sims was introduced with the last pack. So I thought it would be cute to finally put out a little rental. So if you are a regular viewer of my channel and you are a fan of the Disney Disney save, let me know about potentially keeping this build in Selva Dorada as a potential Disney save candidate. I, of course, will always upload it to the gallery. It'll be available under my origin ID, TomilynYT, which I do not plug enough, but it is actually down in my description box down below if you want the actual spelling for that. So it will be available on the gallery if you're somebody who would like it regardless. But as far as including it in the actual save file, let me know what you guys think about that. This would be the first build that I have done outside of whatever world. I'm usually like, I pick one world and I stick to it for the entire duration. So this would be like a random build from Selva Dorada or something like that. Or maybe we could move it to Solani, but I personally think it fits really well, like kind of tucked into the jungle area. So from that description, there were a couple of things that stood out to me that I wanted to get as little details. She mentioned that there were half logs as shelves all around and that they were hung from the ceiling because it was a spherical shaped building. We cannot do technically spherical shaped buildings in the way that was described. So I figured it was best to kind of just skip that idea, but maybe stick with what was being mentioned regardless of that. And it's described that Wendy is kind of like a collector. So she has pretty pebbles, gemstones, decorative eggs around, which are all things that we have in the game. And just knowing Wendy's character, and also from what is previously described in the book, she is described as maybe like 16, 17. She's interested in reading, storytelling, writing. She keeps like a journal where she writes all of her tales of Neverland, and a like pen that she keeps on her 24/7. So I think she would have like lots of books around. I think she would have lots of cute places to sit around and kind of write in her journal. And of course, we're using the new platforming system to be able to do this little bump up area next to the beautiful window that kind of overlooks the jungle, which I thought was really, really fun. And I am just so excited, over the moon, about the platform system. It's really buggy and it kind of doesn't work in the way that you would want it to all the time, which, are we surprised? Not really. I think every major update to The Sims, whenever they're like, we're going to give you guys this, everybody is initially very, very excited about it. And then we come to realize that it sort of doesn't work in the way that we would want it to. For example, terrain. Hence why I never use it, because it makes building very, very hard. And even for like this jungly type of build, I would initially think to use terrain because it just seems so natural for a build like this to have some kind of ebb and flow in the landscape. But it just makes it so much harder to build everything, and it complicates things, and it causes so much more time to be taken in a speed build. So we skipped it this time around, but we can use at least the platform system on the interior and get less flatness, I think, on the interior. And I haven't really gotten an opportunity to use it super heavily and do some really cool, like modern multi-tiered rooms. And I think it'll be really fun when I do get an opportunity to use it. But I definitely like the idea of using it here and there in builds like this where I can make it so that the rooms don't feel so flat all the time. So I can kind of picture her going up onto that platform and writing in her journal or reading a book. One thing that I think was really important to me when building this, they described her entire home as feeling like it was one with the jungle. So I think you would have a lot of the natural jungle elements coming in, and you have like the big open archways instead of closed doors, but giving her some privacy for the bedroom and all of that. I did decide to put the bedroom on the top floor and have like the ladder come up and have the door available to the outside porch area. But for the downstairs, it's just like one big open archway where you can walk right into the kitchen, living room, writing little area. And then we actually ended up doing an outhouse for the bathroom, which is very unique, very open and exposed to the elements, and so cool because I think that's something else about her character in particular for this book. She is very much described as like this prim and proper London girl, and it's only because she's being forced to act that way. So she really doesn't enjoy any of it. She really wants to be like a part of land and like a pirate and an adventurer and not worried about like how her hair is being kept and all of that stuff. She really wants to be a part of nature and be like an outdoor explorer and just find something to do outside of living in London and having it being so drab and dark and tiring all the time. So I think that having this like very cluttered, messy, organic looking build suits her so well. And this was a cool idea, I think, just because in the Disney save, I'm not going to be able to really build a home for Wendy that looks like this. Like if I didn't do this collab, we, of course, for the Disney save are going to be building her London home. And that is obviously based after the movie, which is what the entire speed build is really pulling from. So I would have never actually built Wendy's home if not for doing this collab, because obviously she's just going to live in London. And I think it's cool that I got an opportunity to do something that's still Disney and fairy tale related, other than actually, you know, stealing from a Disney movie. And in reference to the Disney save, I actually do take reference from multiple locations. Like, I don't just watch the movies, I read the wiki pages. I will sometimes go through video games and watch let's plays of video games. And on occasion, things like this, when I am aware of books that are outside of the movies, I will also pull reference from those as well. So it's kind of an all-encompassing universe. The parks, the Disney parks as well. I've done speed builds from both Disneyland and Disney World. So it's all-encompassing. But I think that this ended up being a very unique thing that would not have come otherwise doing this collab. So thank you to Camilla, because I think it's really fun. And if she didn't invite me, it would not have happened. There were a few details that were mentioned, like they mentioned she has a cherry red writing desk and that there's a lamp on it that is made out of translucent seashells. So all of that is in today's speed build. And I actually, as like an added little thing, hid fairies all over this speed build. And I specifically did not include the footage in the video because I think that it's fun while you're watching if you can sort of look around in the landscaping and see if you can find or see any of them. And if you download it off the gallery, it will be like a fun little thing that you can find if you want to. So that was obviously in reference to Pixie Hollow and Tinkerbell and her entire little friend group. And in general, it's described that in Neverland there is more fairies than just Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell's sort of unique in where she lives and who she keeps company with, but there are more all around. So I thought it would be cute to kind of hide fairies all around and make it like a very magical element, again, kind of tying in the collab video. Her house is also described as being one story, but obviously for the speed build and just wanting to make it a little bit bigger and better, I decided to go with a 2-story home. And it was also originally almost a treehouse, but actually I've done a collab recently where I built a treehouse, so I was trying to stay away from that. And I think I also, when I did that other speed build and recently for just like collab videos, I've been having a really hard time with them coming up with ideas, but this is the first one I've done in a while that I came up with the idea rather quickly as soon as I sat down to kind of think about it, and I'm really happy with the concept, and I didn't have to build it more than once. This is actually the one shot that you guys are seeing the entire time. I've cut here and there so that I can get rid of things that are tedious and not important, like lots and lots of landscaping as like a jungle type of build would have. But in general, this was a very, very easy speed build and a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of the stuff I've been working on. So outside of today's build, things that we can look forward to in the next couple of days and weeks here, all of my streaming equipment has officially arrived. And while I'm doing this voiceover, I'm actually going to get off of doing this voiceover in a moment here and finish, hopefully, all of my setup stuff. I have like a lot of maintenance and OBS and Streamlabs stuff that I have to work on and get ready to go. But I am going to officially start live streaming speed builds for the Disney save specifically over on Twitch. And I can't even plug my Twitch handle right now because I think I'm about to change it. So if I have more information for that, it'll be linked in the comment section and my description box down below. All of my socials are always down there. But I am excited. That is something that I've been promising for a while now, and I'm happy that it's finally going to come about, and I will have a more definitive schedule as far as time and days of the week that I will be live on Twitch. And I have officially picked Twitch for now. I might live stream on YouTube on occasion, and if for some reason I feel like Twitch is not working out, I could in the future switch to YouTube. But for now, I think I'm going to switch to Twitch just for live streaming. And of course, if you're somebody who cannot catch my live streams for speed builds for the Disney save, I will always edit them down into videos and put them over here on this very same channel as speed builds and as really whatever, because I think it won't always be a speed build. Like, we could do create a sim over there. There are little maintenance things with the Disney save that I have to do that sometimes might be fun to just do in a setting where people can give me live opinions on, like tool mod and going around and adding little things here and there to the actual save file that are outside of all of the lots. And story writing, there was something else. Oh, testing the Disney save. That is something that takes me so long. After every single world is completed, I test it very, very heavily to make sure all of the characters are set to go. There's like a laundry list of stuff that I have to do when it comes to testing, and it takes me so long. And because I am so wrapped up in that and nobody else can do it, I can't like pass it along initially, I end up not putting out videos for a long period of time. So maybe for testing, I can even live stream that and we can kind of go through the bugs together and all of the stuff that goes into that. And it might be really fun to get more opinions there and just like have you guys to hang out with as well. So I'm just excited overall. Like I said, I'll give you guys more information as soon as it's available, but it is coming sooner rather than later. Besides that, the next build for the Disney save will be Maleficent's castle. And I definitely have been procrastinating this castle a little bit. This is a very complicated, large build. I just got done building another castle and I feel like I needed a breath and I needed a moment to set up like my streaming stuff. And I was very worried about getting this collab done on time. So all of that has kind of been going on in the background, but I need to resume what I've been working on. And then I'm happy to announce, and this is kind of like bonus spoiler for those of you who have decided to stay this late in the video. Originally, the plan was to do 2 versions of Forgotten Hollow, which is the world I am currently working on in the Disney save. And Maleficent's Castle is the last build for version 1. And I was going to do a version 2. I still fully intend to do the version 2, but I have decided that I'm going to do it later on. I feel like I need a break. I need something else new to do. And as you all know, we just recently got The Sims 4 Snowy Escape. So I really, really want to go build in Mount Komorabi. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And do some Frozen, do some Mulan. I'm sure there are other movies that we'll be able to find some reference for there. And I'm sure my patrons would love another opportunity to do some planning and to get that all going. So a breath of fresh air definitely needed. And like I said, I will still be doing the version 2 of Forgotten Hollow. So if you know what that is and if you have seen it, or if you're a patron of mine and you have seen the map layout for that, don't worry, it's not a cancellation, it's just a postponement. So we're going to be jumping into Mount Komorabi next. And of course, many of you are going to ask, will I be doing Elsa's castle? Yes, I'm going to attempt to put it in that world. It makes the most sense. Maybe we can even fit the Arendelle castle and have Elsa and Anna live there. We will see. I have to plan everything out. I don't want to give anything definitively yet, but I will say that I am going to attempt to do Elsa's castle. It just makes absolute sense for it to go there. So that's all stuff to look forward to in the very near future. Again, I'll keep you guys posted and updated. I'll also do like a little community tab for the live streaming stuff. And if you're a part of either of my Discords, I will also make announcements over there so that you are sure to catch the streams if you want to come hang out with me and do some speed building and work on Maleficent's Castle, because that is the next thing that I need to get done off of my list. So again, please check out everybody else's speed build from the Sims Tales collab. I cannot wait to see what other famous myths and tales people have decided to go with for the speed build. I'm sure most people did not pick Disney, as I'm like a Disney freak, so I think that it'll be really fun to see what other people have come up with. I hope you guys go and check all of them out. Everything will be linked in the description box down below. Thank you again to Camilla for offering me to be a part of this collab. Guys, make sure you go check her out. She is very talented and definitely deserves more love. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Hit that little bell icon below to turn on post notifications so you can get updated every single time I post. And I will talk to you all in the next one.